Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to see you and to meet some of you because I wasn't able to be at the Learning Expedition in Chicago. I was very sorry I missed it, and I know you all had a great time and it was really interesting. So now we're meeting by this by the internet, but it's better than nothing, and it's also we're uh, I think the San Francisco it's early in the morning and in Tokyo it's late in the evening, so it's not easy to have everybody at the same time, but we made it, so I'm very glad, and I thank you for being there. I wanted also to thank you for the cooperation we had during the health crisis, and that still goes on, of course. um, well, I really believe that we need to cooperate and to work together, and that's the purpose of the GBD Innovation Club. And of course, this crisis is a good opportunity for us also to exchange with the experiences we're living in our different business districts and the solutions we're trying to find. Um, I would like to thank you for your involvement. And said we published during the last weeks, we've been publishing a series of articles on our GBD website and on the social medias. And I hope we're going to go on with your contributions. It's a good way also to exchange and to show what we have been doing. Um, uh, Now we need to rebound and to transform this crisis into a new opportunity, of course, because a lot of questions are rising on what's going to happen after the crisis, how we are going to face it, how the companies are going to react. Are we going to go back to work just as before, or are things going to change radically? A lot of questions are rising, and I think nobody really has the answers to those questions, but it's good to have this opportunity to exchange between us. I would like to welcome Eastcott community from San Francisco Business District, who has joined the GBD Innovation Club. So Eastcott is a new member, so welcome. I'm very glad to have you with us. And thank you everybody for your club memberships. Most of you have already paid your fees. I know one is missing, but I believe it's just a question of days. And so the club will go on functioning thanks to your participation. So Michael, let's go to our debate. Michael, you need to put your mic on.
Thank you. Okay, let's start again. So not a debate, hopefully a conversation. And I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting today. As you see on the screen, this is the folks that are with us today to talk about COVID and the post-COVID world. Certainly, the world has all shifted dramatically, and in many ways, since we were all together in October. The impact of COVID-19 has created enormous challenges for all of us, but I think somewhere in there, there's also opportunities for our districts, for our individual organizations, and really for ourselves as district managers. So today we have, and I think we sent out to you prior, a list of questions to kind of tee off our conversation that we'd like to have. But as you're thinking about your answers, I would really like you to sort of think about them from a couple of different perspectives. One is, how is this impacting your district? Of course, how is it impacting your organization? And, you know, there's not a lot of people like us on planet Earth that are doing this kind of work. And a lot of things come together downtown: social change, economic change, health, now health, public health. And it's a very unique position that we're in. And there's not a lot of people to talk to about it. And so if you want to do a little, you know, self-reflection, or if you want to, you know, sort of check in to make sure that you're not going crazy, that other people are experiencing the same things, I think this is the place to do it. So what I'd like to do is to get started and ask each of the districts. I'm sorry, here's the agenda we're going to have. So we're going to have a discussion on those three questions you see there in the purple color. And then Marie-Celia will have a conclusion at the end of our session, which is scheduled to last just an hour. So what I'd like to do first is ask each of the districts, you'll see your slides come up. And if you could just speak just for a few minutes, because I think the value here is all of us conversing later in the program. But I think it's important for all of us to sort of understand, you know, what was going on in your district before COVID. So we have some kind of context for the change. So we'll start off with the East Cut and Andrew and your team. I'm not sure who's speaking, but if you could just kind of give us an overview of the district, how big it is, how many employees you have, kind of what life was like before COVID. Then we can start talking about what happened with the lockdown and what happened with the, what's happening with your reopening going forward. So let's start with Andrew, Mike, and Pierre.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for having us. We're really excited to be part of this. And I, too, missed the Chicago trip, so I had some other work travel at that time. I'm very happy to have a chance to be with all of you here today. And I apologize about the extreme sun. We are actually on vacation, and I'm the only one awake in the house. So I came outside. But so the East Cut in downtown San Francisco is an area of the city that actually used to be a light industrial area, which the Bay Bridge touched down upon, and you could circle along what was then the Embarcadero Freeway. That came down after the 1989 earthquake. A couple of years later, the Embarcadero Freeway was torn down. And then there was a significant planning effort to rethink about this as San Francisco's first truly high-rise, dense, mixed-use neighborhood. We cover about 25 city blocks. We have about 80,000 to 100,000 employees that come through the district every day. We have today probably about 13,000 residents in the neighborhoods, but more buildings continuing to be built and opened about every 6 months, about every year. And as you can see in this picture here on the slide, on the left is a new park atop our regional transit center, Salesforce Transit Center, that was drawing, several thousand people a day for lunchtime, evening activation, that has essentially gone quiet. And now maybe it's a couple hundred a day at most, but the chairs have been locked up. The businesses are completely gone. In our neighborhood, we have over 1 million square feet, and I apologize, we don't use the metric system. 1 million square feet of office space that's Facebook's. It's the global headquarters for Salesforce. They have over 10,000 employees in the neighborhood. Google is in the neighborhood. The Gap is in the neighborhood, the clothing company. So it has a lot of both tech companies and some old San Francisco companies. But effectively, the neighborhood has gone quiet. People are just living in the residential towers. But there's very few offices that are even opened back up despite being allowed to as of this week. And there's talk for many of them of not opening, having a significant percentage of their employees working from home permanently, which is, we think, will have a big impact on the neighborhood's vibrancy and dynamic. I don't know, Mike or Pierre, if I missed anything.
If we could, we'll come back. Everybody will get a chance to talk, but let's go to the Marunouchi, the Tokyo district, and Teiku and Shikito. If you'd like to give us a little brief overview. You have to unmute.
Sure. Yeah,
got it. Okay,
sure.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Yeah, of course, we are very excited about joining this the webinar discussion with you all. Thank you for having us today. I'm not sure how much all of you know about the Marunouchi, but the Marunouchi is located kind of center of the Tokyo, and then as you can imagine, Marunouchi has kind of the one of the busiest business center district in Japan actually. In Marunouchi, we have the one of the big busiest train station, which is Tokyo Station in there, and then we have the Imperial Palace where the the royal family of Japanese the emperor lived there. So I think the Marunouchi is very unique position in Tokyo. Basically, there are more than 100 buildings in that area of 120 hectares or maybe 300 acres. basically more than 4,300 companies have its office here, and then the workers here, the number of the workers here is 280,000 people. Amazingly, from the revenue standpoint, companies in this district produce 25% of Japan's GDP, which is the 135 trillion yen, or 1.2 trillion US dollars here. So I think the keeping this district very the strong or maybe competitive is so important in Japan's economy. But as you can see in the picture, before COVID-19, the buildings in this map is this is a Tokyo Station building, which is designed by the Japanese architect in 18. I forgot, and this is beautiful. Sorry about that. But this avenue is very the very important avenue in this district. But after the COVID-19, the people basically vanished here. Right. So it's huge impact for us.
Okay, let's go to the next district. Oh,
this is also Marunouchi. Yeah.
Very good.
Yes,
that looks very familiar, unfortunately. Okay, Emile, Montreal.
Yeah, so downtown Montreal, it's about 500,000 people before the COVID that came here every day to work or study, because we have 3 international universities on our territory. So it's about 400,000 workers and 100,000 students. So since March, there is no one downtown because it's only 40,000 residents. So it's for us a lack of people in our stores, in our streets. As you can see on this picture, this is on the left, it's on the night where the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship 1 year ago. And on the right, it's right now. So yeah, for us, it's a huge change because downtown Montreal, it's the heart of economy, of course, in Montreal, but also in Quebec and even in the eastern part of Canada, because it's about 7 to 10% of every Quebecers walk downtown Montreal or study downtown. So and today we can't count on the residents to run our stores, our restaurants. So for us, that's a huge change. And what we can see since the déconfinement is that less than 20% of people has come back to the office or stores. So it's still really empty now. So yeah, so this is part of the situation.
That's great. Maricela, I think Paris La Défense is next. I think.
This is Montreal too.
Yeah, here we go. Right.
Yeah, this is La Défense. So La Défense is the business district of Paris, but it's located outside of Paris, on the western side of Paris. It's a district, we have about 80 high-rise buildings, 500 companies located in La Défense, most of them are international companies. 180,000 people come and work here every day, but we also have about 20,000 people who live in the business district itself, and 40,000 students who come and study here. So it's usually an extremely busy place with that is, as you can see, it's a big pedestrian area. All the cars are underneath a kind of deck. And so the whole business district is pedestrian. So when the lockdown was ordered in France on March 17th, well, the district was completely empty in 24 hours. We estimate that 98.5% of the people who usually come here to work stayed at home. So you see only 1.5% of people still coming here. And so basically the only people who remained in the district are the people who live here, who are probably kind of happy to have this fantastic area just for themselves and their children, even though they were not so much allowed to go and run outside, but still. We also have a very big shopping center in La Défense. Of course, all the shops were closed. We have a very big arena for an indoor concert hall of 40,000 seats that was closed. Of course, we were planning to have Céline Dion, Canadian star singer, was supposed to come now for a whole series of concerts. All the events were canceled, of course, and all our events, we organized a lot of events outside on this pedestrian area. Everything was canceled. So that was lockdown, and in France, lockdown was partially stopped in May, on May 11th, and so we have been slowly going back to the office, but very, very slowly. Today,
that's great.
Let's talk about that. Okay.
We'll come back to the opening.
Okay. Yeah.
Maria, is Moscow next? I think. Maria, you might have to unmute yourself.
Sure. Sorry again.
That's okay.
Hi, everyone.
Okay.
Nice to see you. We'll speak about Moscow City. So usually we do operate like we do see like 200,000 people daily in Moscow City district. It's a huge district with 16 buildings, one of the biggest shopping mall. About 55 people work here. About 2,000 companies stay here, and what we saw in a moment, March 16th, we were a bit like 1 week late from most of the world, but March 16th it all started. And to understand that in 2 weeks we closed everything, every cafe, restaurant, retail, most of the offices started to move to the distant work March 16th. April 1st, it was completely locked down. So what happened? From 200,000 people, only 10%, like 10% left. These are only people who work in technical production, in technical operation, in cleaning. So only the staff that allowed to support Moscow City Center just to work and to stay as it is. Most of the workers, most of the companies, they all moved home and started to work distantly. And only now, I would say a week ago, we started to very slowly come back to life, but it's like only the beginning.
Right. Great. Thank you. Next slide. So just a little bit on Chicago. So you've all been here, so you all sort of know, but we have 300,000 people that work per day downtown, and about 500 university students and 30,000 residents. And all of that's become very quiet, as you can see from this particular slide. And so everything that you've all said is very much what is happening here in Chicago. I did just want to add one thing. If you could go to the next slide. You know, the US has been rocked by the George Floyd murder. And so we had a lot of violence on State Street on May 30th. So it started out as a protest, but then it turned into a riot, really. And 50 storefronts were smashed and looted up and down State Street that we all walked on. So not only is the COVID thing going on, and that happened on the 30th of May, we were coming into our first opening on the 3rd of June. So that has, of course, been much slower in coming than it would have been otherwise. But, you know, we're kind of in the same boat as everybody had indicated here so far. You know, we were really humming along, and then it just stopped, like it has across the globe. That's all of the panels, right, Josephine? Right. So let's go to so what I'd like to do now is, if you want to unmute yourselves, I'd like to have a little bit more of a discussion. If you know, we all are, you know, very we all have opinions, so just try to be, kind of share your thoughts and let others speak, and give time for everybody to have a say. So we had 3 questions, and the first question is, so let's start this discussion with regards of the impact of the lockdown on your business district. Maybe obviously it's negative, but maybe it could be a little bit more specific in terms of sectors. Where is it really affecting your districts? Anybody want to start us off?
I can start if you want.
Sure.
So what we saw in Montreal is that most of the companies continue to work remote from home. So like bank, insurance, etc., continue to operate, and some of them notified that the results were here. So it was not that much a pain to work remote. But what was the main issue in downtown is about all the retail and commercial aspects, because I don't know in your cities, but in Montreal, they divided between essentials and non-essentials businesses that can open or not open.
They did
and
in the US. They did in the US.
Yeah, so, and basically in downtown, as is not a big resident area, most of the retails, the businesses are non-essentials. So everything was really closed. And right now they are really suffering from the lack of customers because workers are not here. So we are working hard on this part, on the commercial areas.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody notice when the lockdown happened that the government or you suddenly were invited to new partnerships? Did that happen to anybody? We have a newer mayor here, so she may have been looking for a little bit more support, but we found the lockdown revealed the value of our organization to others, that they saw us as somebody that needed to. Did that happen to anybody else? That you sort of have these new friends that you didn't know you had?
Not here for us, not so much with the mayors, because La Défense is on 3 different towns, and we have the competency of the mayors on the district. But what the crisis revealed is that we had an important role to play in coordinating companies because when we were preparing the unlockdown. Each company was having its own plan about how the employees were going to come back or not come back. A lot of them are not coming back, but they were planning on their side, and we needed to coordinate everybody because the first reason being the public transport system, because most of the people here come with the train or the metro, and of course there was a big fear that people rushing back in the trains, everybody at the same time, would be very bad for the health situation. So we needed to coordinate the plans of the companies to try to anticipate what they were preparing, and also to encourage them to bring more flexibility in the hours of their employees and allow their employees to arrive at the office at different hours, not everybody in the morning at the same time. So we're trying to encourage this movement so that people, because the rush hour, the peak hour is just 1 hour in the morning, which is very complicated. Yes. Everybody arriving at the same time. So we had this important role to play with the public organization that is in charge of the transport system.
That's great. How about someone else?
I can't say we just had something new, but the interesting thing that happened, we're trying to build the information hub in our office, in our company, and it was like a very slow step by step. But immediately when the lockdown was on, we became a huge information hub, and I would say hundreds of journalists talk to us every day about what happens, how the companies are feeling, or what about the people, how many people moved home, etc. So the aim that we had before for this year to have this media hub, to have this information hub, it just happened immediately in 1 week after the lockdown. So it was like a valuable thing for us. Yeah,
that's great. Others doing become a resource for your districts, a bigger resource. Is that true?
I think for the East Cut in San Francisco, we saw a lot of residents who maybe weren't so engaged with the district coming forward to seek out information. I, with one of our city supervisors, did a couple town halls via virtual, which were getting, I think we might have even had like 80 or 100 people showing up on a Zoom town hall conversation that were residents in the neighborhood. And I think that we, as a district, we're really providing pretty good information on our website and through other social media and newsletters we put out. So we did see a uptick in people coming to us for information. The mayor not being one of them, although we have tried to present ourselves to the mayor as a partner in addressing some of the concerns in San Francisco.
Interesting. I would just add that one of the things that I found fascinating with the lockdown was initially everybody was impacted, but then over time you started to realize that it sort of revealed what actually drives activity downtown. Of course, the workers are, you know, the most obvious, but like the hotel, you can almost line up how things are going to come back, right? It's the office, and then the retail and the restaurants, right? And then maybe the hotels. But things like theater and our arts and culture, which is a huge part of the loop, $2.2 billion a year, they're not sure the theaters are going to come back for years, like 3 or 4 years. Is that true in your markets too? That theater is just like nowhere. Arts and culture's been rocked.
Well, in Montreal, they just announced a new plan for theater and like cultural spaces, so they can now welcome 50 people at the same time when they are not looking at each other, not talking. So new rules made just for theaters. So I think from next July, we will be able to reopen with like a minimum capacity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
In
I
Paris,
think it's the same. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, please go.
No, it's Marunouchi has the same situation about the theater. We have a couple theaters in Marunouchi district, and then they are trying to restart, to accommodate people. But right now the government require the theater to have less than 50% of the seats. So I think that it's the same the situation.
Less than 50% of the seats, so 1,000 seats, you could get 500 people.
Less than, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, here it's the same thing. So it's national requirements that theaters and other places, cinemas are going to be opening these days. Everything is starting to reopen, but the requirements are very strict. And so, of course, the business model is a problem, because if they can't have enough people coming to see the shows or the movies, it's of course a problem. In La Défense, we only have this arena of 40,000 people. So they have been reprogramming the concerts next year and waiting to see what are the conditions, how many people they can have in this huge arena, how many people will be allowed to come. We organize a lot of events also in the districts. So we canceled our summer event because it was impossible for us to organize it, but we maintained our exhibition. We have a big exhibition of our pieces of art, contemporary pieces of art that's going to be starting the end of June. It was very difficult to organize it because we were locked down, and some of the artists were coming from countries far away and travel is impossible. So we had to reprogram and find new artists. But I really wanted to have this event go on, because I believe that art is very important for everybody. We need to go out and to not only take care of what they consider essential things such as food or health, but art is part of mental health. So we're gonna have this exhibition starting soon.
That sounds great. So to build off of what Marie-Celia said, so in Chicago, when we first went into this, I don't know how you felt personally, but it was a very confusing thing. We didn't quite know what to do. So we actually borrowed it from some folks in the UK, and we took March and April, and we just called it Crisis. So Crisis meant that we just stopped doing certain things, canceled all the things that we had planned, just like Marie-Celia just said. And what we're in now, what we call our pre-opening. So May through August, we're just assuming it's going to start to come back. And so most of our stuff went online. Most of our meetings like this, we didn't have any more events. Everything were virtual events. And so we're not really anticipating that it comes back until September in any sort of robust way. So my question is, when you went into lockdown, are there services that how did you change your services? Did you do more of this and less of that? Can you kind of talk a little bit about some things that really changed your organizational programming or operation? Anybody?
Well, I can speak. Actually, I think it's still the same, pretty the same everywhere. So we all moved to distance work. We all moved to Zoom. We canceled all the events for sure, and still they're canceled. But the good thing of that is that we had time to do some projects and to do some things that we didn't have time before for it. We got some new time to overthink. Yeah, I can hear myself. So we relaunched, for example, our website. We made some new projects I will speak about a bit later. But in conclusion, I can say at the moment that the team facing this crisis, I would agree with you, Michael, but the team was perfect working distantly. And now we understand, this is a good key, good knowledge. We understand that we can work both the ways, and it's a very good learning for us. This is A. And B, we have a museum, as you probably know, and the museum was first to be closed. So we, in a week, we just completely changed the operational system. We all moved to online, and we were able to very quickly develop some new products, like for museum, for example. And this is another good learning, that people, just a good team can very easily, very quickly develop new projects or new formats, and it's a very good knowledge also.
Great. Any other significant changes in service delivery because of the lockdown?
Well, in Montreal, the lockdown changed a lot our action plan for 2020. So during the lockdown, we thought about new initiatives to make sure that people will come back little by little downtown. So we tried to be innovative, and we launched, for example, new street furniture to manage waiting lines in front of the stores. Next week, we are launching 4 sanitary bike stations, because we anticipate that people will use more bikes instead of public transportation. Mm-hmm. So we try to think about more the public spaces. And recently, this week, we launched a new service of same-day delivery. So the idea was to generate more income for the downtown stores, but without having people physically in downtown. So instead of buying on Amazon, you can ask a new service to go buy anything you want downtown, and we deliver the same day with a minimum delivery fee. So that's all. These are new actions we developed during the lockdown to trying to convince people to come back slowly in the downtown area.
Great. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, during lockdown, most of my employees went to home office. Only the security staff kept on going to La Défense, and also the people in charge of cleaning the district. And we took the opportunity of this moment with nobody on site to clean more intensely in spaces that are difficult to access normally. So that was a good opportunity for us. One of our big issues was the problem of the homeless people, because we have homeless people in La Défense that are not very visible because they mostly live underneath the deck, and they come here because they usually find food with the big shopping center, all the restaurants, and the office restaurants, and everything was closed in 24 hours, and nobody was taking care of them. It's not so much in our responsibility, but we were very active to go around all the office restaurants to get the food that was not going to be eaten, and to have it distributed with associations to those.
Oh, that's great. People. That's a great idea.
Yeah, that was a big action we had, and to have it, and we had it distributed much more largely than just the district, because we had a lot of food that we could collect. And we also launched a crowdfunding initiative to get money to give to the association that is in charge of, that takes care of those homeless people, because they could not work. They had no no masks, no gel, nothing, and so they needed to buy a lot of things. And so we had this crowdfunding that allowed to get some money for help them.
Great idea. Great idea. Any other changes in service or whatever? Teiku, did you want to say something?
From Marunouchi, I just wanted to add one thing. It's the same as on all of you. Basically the every events which intend to get people together have already been canceled. But interestingly, the event organizer right now have been trying to find a way to have that event online. So it's kind of interesting move. And then also restaurants in Marunouchi area have been struggling with the the no customer situation right now. Right. So our, not the OMY Landlord Association, but our sister organization is now trying to support the restaurant to use the streets to put the tables and the chairs on the street. Right now we cannot do anything because our the local government haven't allowed us to do that. But right now we are negotiating with them to the help the restaurants.
The city of Chicago did allow that to happen in the neighborhoods. We've asked for downtown, but I think there's a sense that the streets are too busy, even though there's nobody on them at the moment. So that's really interesting. In Chicago, we put restrooms down in the loop for the homeless and used our team to direct them. We shifted our safety team to overnight just because there's nobody downtown, and all of the windows, they're just not, thankfully nobody boarded up windows with regards to COVID. And then we also found some new products and are doing much more cleaning of all surfaces, not just the sidewalk. And we found that from a marketing perspective has been extremely helpful. And this notion that going forward downtown, the loop, it needs to be clean, safe, and healthy. And so this notion of health, is I think going to become a big driver in our markets going forward. So, anything else on lockdown anybody wants to talk about?
Yeah, I was just going to quickly touch on in the East Cut. We are trying to find, we have one whole city block in our neighborhood that is vacant. And so we've been working with the city and the Trans-Bay Joint Powers Authority, the transportation system that is going to then sell it for development to turn it into an outdoor marketplace for food, to be able to socially distance. And then we are looking to launch in the next couple of weeks, really a neighborhood volunteer-based food delivery system to help our local restaurants not have to use some of the delivery apps that end up taking 30% of their receipts and actually deliver for a much lower cost and generate more revenue for the restaurants in our neighborhood that really lived on the commercial businesses that aren't here anymore. So
Sounds great. That's
Uh,
great.
I would I would love to add, if you don't
Sure.
mind.
Sure.
We were planning this year to build the community in Moscow City, and it was one of the aims that were in our strategy. But when it all happened, we started to. Actually, we launched a new program, Moscow City Talks, where we united businesses by their spheres. And every week we take 45 speakers from the businesses in Moscow City and speak on different themes. So, and it appeared to be a very good initiative. Businesses, they met each other and they now know who are they in person. B, they start to discuss how they can help each other, and it's a very good initiative in this case. And C, it all became so we now found the route to take care of businesses by meeting them in person and trying to give them a chance to make new partnerships. That's what we do for 2 months now. And next Thursday we'll have the 10th discussion. So this is one of the things that we're proud of.
That's great. Maria, so when you say sphere, do you mean you bring all retailers together and then you'd bring office buildings together and like
Yeah, that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like services. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Well, let's talk about reopening. So our initial reopening started June 3rd. And Marie-Celia said yours initial started May 11th. Has that evolved into a broader opening?
Yes.
Or the
Now
next
restaurants. The initial reopening on May 11th was we could go. Companies could start working again, but the government emphasized that a home office should be privileged, which means that in the district, the business district, most companies are still working from home. So it's very progressive, the reopening. The restaurants were not allowed to reopen immediately. They first were allowed to open on last week, I think a week ago, with the terraces, outside terraces.
Right.
The weather has been really fantastic during lockdown, but since we are reopening, it's raining and it's cold and it's windy. And now we're telling the restaurants they only have to work outside. So of course it's kind of ironic. The big problem here is to have people going back to work is that the schools are not really reopening or very gradually, with only a very small part of a class will be welcomed. So the people are with their kids at home and they can't go to work. And they're still working and taking care of the children at the same time. That's probably the main issue. And that's why the president just announced last Sunday that all schools will be reopening on Monday, next Monday.
Oh.
Well, actually, just for 1 week, because after it's summer break anyway.
I see.
But that was really very much expected by all the companies, because we have problems having people coming back to work. And during lockdown, there was a strong mobilization, and home office worked very well. And probably a lot of bosses that were not very open to remote work, thinking that people at home will just watch TV and not do anything. They probably noticed that people were actually working, and sometimes working too much, because it's difficult to cut when you work at home, but to make the difference in work. And so,
excuse me, how about some of the other openings? Just dates. Is San Francisco reopening?
So San Francisco, I think, from our point of view, has had a more conservative reopening approach. We're on a phased system, as I'm sure many of you are, but we first opened, which was phase 2A, on June 1st. And just this last Monday, June 15th, was 2B, which allowed indoor retail, outdoor dining, religious services. But then 2C, which is going to include indoor dining and salons, barbershops, isn't until July 13th. And then phase 3, which is schools, bars, playgrounds, is mid-August. And then phase 4 is completely to be determined. That would include concert venues, nightclubs, festivals, and hotels. So it's a pretty conservative approach. And all of it could be dialed back if there's an influx of infections.
Right, right. How about Moscow and Montreal and Tokyo?
Moscow goes step by step. So actually on July 1st, we will have the general constitution voting. So starting from June 1st, the retail opened. On June 16th, saloons and museums opened. We opened our museum today. And next Tuesday, June 23rd, restaurants will be opened, but with very, very hard restrictions for visitors. And then all the events, all the mass events, more than 50 people, will be opening, we assume, October, not earlier than that. And and sports opens on Tuesday also.
Yeah. How about Tokyo?
Actually, I just wanted to make it clear that actually Japanese government didn't lock down anywhere in Japan, including Tokyo. Looking back a little bit timeline, the Prime Minister declared a state of emergency on April 7th, and then he lifted it on May 25th. So during that time, Japanese government had asked people not to go out, to stay home with no penalty. So people basically followed that request. So this is this I saw a lot of the article that it's kind of Japanese mystery why the relatively lower number of the cases happened in Japan, but I'm not sure what happened. But that's the timeline period in Tokyo.
Right. In Montreal. I'm sorry.
No. After May 25th, we gradually reopened the restaurants, the bars, cafes, the companies.
And you're no increase in COVID, no increase.
Actually, right now we are seeing a little spike, the case numbers in Tokyo right now.
Neil.
In Tokyo.
Yeah, in Montreal, all the stores reopen on May 25. So with the front outdoor entrance. So and today it's all the malls and the commercial centers that are allowed to reopen. So today and next Monday it's all the restaurants and the bars that have a food service that can open. So with restrictive limitation on the number of people and etc. And for all the outdoor activities such as a festival or events, it's not until the end of August. So as you know, Montreal is known for Jazz Fest, Just for Love, etc. So all these events are cancelled. And some of them will take place maybe in October, but nothing is really confirmed.
Right. Ashiko, did you want to say something? No. Okay, so we have started our to reopen, and the next sort of big date is the end of June, where retail will be able to be 50% open and restaurants will be able to have some indoor seating with lots of social distancing. But as an organization, what are you planning to do to accelerate the opening? Or are you planning to do anything from a marketing perspective to welcome people back, whatever? Anybody got anything they'd like to share?
In Montreal, we are focusing on the opening of public terraza. So we know that the first competitor of downtown right now are the parks, because all the parks has been really overcrowded during the past weeks, because it was the last place where you can go just to have socializing and meeting friends. And in downtown we have only few parks, no parks. So we are accelerating the processes of creating new public spaces, terrazza, to send the message that you can come downtown to meet your friends, have a meeting outdoor, etc. So for us, this is the main marketing message we want to send in the next few days or weeks, is that you will be able to meet in a safety place in downtown area.
Right. So I want to hear what other people are doing, and this just reminded me. So we've been hearing a lot about, and I'm wondering if you have too, that this issue that cities are bad because there's density, and density is, you know, kind of opposite of what COVID's all about. And what we've been hearing a lot of from placemaking people is this notion that crowding is bad, but managing density is sort of what we're all going to have to start to do more and more of. And there's a whole, and the Innovation Club is, you know, all about, is there technologies or new ways of thinking? And I think, you know, maybe in a future webinar, we can maybe have some experts come in and talk to us about that. But this notion of using technology to manage the size of crowds inside of our event spaces and how you monitor that. And I think that that's going to be something we're all going to start, you know, way more involved in, maybe more than we want to be going forward.
Yep.
Other marketing initiatives?
Yeah, we're working a lot also on our public spaces where we're lucky enough to have a very generous public space.
Yeah.
With pedestrians, so there's not the problem of having restaurant terraces next to cars. We are opening all the public space, also offering it free to the restaurants if they need to expand, as other people have mentioned. And we are also working a lot to promote a bicycle, which is an old issue here in La Défense, because it's very difficult to access the district by bicycle because of its construction on the deck. It's quite high compared to the level of the city. So it's very difficult, but we've been working on it, and we're using the crisis as a factor to accelerate our efforts and to obtain from, I'm hopefully going to obtain from the government the permission to use underneath the deck for the bicycles, which was not allowed until now. So I believe that the crisis can also be an opportunity to accelerate some transformations undergoing.
Right. Right. So does anybody else want to comment on that? Because I wanted to move on to our next question, because I want to.
I had one thing I wanted to note. The city of San Francisco has permitted a shared space program that would allow businesses to expand their footprint, if you will. They can now use the sidewalk and the parking spaces in front of their storefronts. And so then that would allow them to use that for tables, chairs, outdoor dining. And it's important for us in the district because outdoor dining is only allowed now and indoor dining will be allowed in just a month. Mm-hmm. So it's something we're trying to push and help businesses with at the moment.
Yeah, we'd love to do more of that, but our government's doesn't seem to be as interested in doing that downtown. So let's finish up with this question, and then Marie-Celia is going to have some comments at the end. And we can go a little longer if you can hang out, but I want to respect your time. And some of you are up at midnight, so we kind of appreciate that. But so this whole notion of public health and this public health crisis, how do you think that's going to impact your district or your organization? I mean, where do you think you're going to actually see things differently, occur differently in your district?
Well, there is a big debate probably in France and everywhere about what is the future of the office, right. And is there still this need to have so many offices and so many square meters used for offices? You mentioned that in San Francisco, that some companies such as Facebook or maybe Google, I don't know, have already said that they were probably going to stay at home, maybe on a permanent basis. So those are technological companies. But in France here, we have a car builder, Peugeot, that already announced also that they're going to permanently favor home office. So of course that is a huge change, and it is a huge challenge for us to know if business districts still have a purpose if people are working from home. I believe that home office is a solution, but it's not a permanent solution. You can work a little bit from the office, but you need to meet people. You need the creativity, and comes from meeting each other, talking to each other, really.
Yeah. I think it'll come back too. I agree with you. I think it'll come back. 75%.
Probably it means that we're not going to build offices the same way, but that was something that was already on the move. That these changes were already ongoing, and probably our districts, our public spaces, we see the importance of public spaces today with this crisis. It's going to impact us on the way we build them, the need to have more nature, more parks, etc. That's probably going to be a permanent influence.
Others?
And I'd like to share a good example in Montreal. Some hotels are now converting rooms into executive office, private office. So, because they know that people can't continue to work home like on permanent basis because you have children, because you need to just go out. So they know that the demand for private office because of the COVID will increase. So some hotels downtown Montreal have already converted part of their rooms into offices. So that's a good example. And I share with you in the chat a link to our magazine. And there is an article about this inside the magazine, so you can read if you want. I can continue maybe just to share one concern we have in Montreal is about the public financing of downtown. And in Montreal, the city has lost $500 million this year, or anticipate to lose $500 million. So we have a big issue in the way to finance all the public services, the infrastructures. And I think the crisis revealed huge needs for the public governments like federal, provincial governments to get involved in the financing of specifically downtown Montreal. So we are already into a discussion with them to create a fund to help downtown companies and for public services in the downtown area.
That's great. One more comment, and then maybe Mauricio, you could kind of wrap us up. I want to respect your time. I would just like to say this has been great so far. There's all these things I'd love to talk about, but I know some of you have to go to bed, and others of you have to have your breakfast. So any other? Well, actually, just a show of hands. Did anybody lay off any of your staff, furlough or lay off any staff? Did anybody do that? Okay. Does anybody expect that this will have an impact, that COVID will have an impact on property values and thus funding to your organization in 2021? You have a concern?
Yes, we do.
Just sort of raise your hands if you have a concern about that. No?
Yeah.
Okay. We do too. That said, one of the interesting things, we have to start our budget for 2021 now because that's just the city's process. And my board is saying, let's go in with what they call a go big budget that we've proven value this year. So let's ask for 27% more money than we did last year so that we can accelerate the recovery in the district. So I was surprised. I don't think it's gonna stick, but I was really surprised that they are the ones that came up with that given everything that was going on. So just a couple of comments. Any last comments?
We're definitely planning for a budget cut, and I know other districts in San Francisco are as well. We're planning for a 10% cut next year, and I saw Emile just say 50%.
Yep.
Emile, 50%.
Yeah.
Okay. We will continue to improve these. I think we're hoping to have another one of these in July, but let me just turn it over to Mauricio for some closing comments.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was good to have this conversation. Yes, as Michael said, we were planning maybe to have another webinar to present the EY ULI attractiveness of global business district report. You know, they have this survey, and they just published during lockdown the results of the second edition of the survey, and it's really interesting. Congratulations to Tokyo, Marunouchi. It's very well ranked, so we think it could be interesting to have a presentation of this survey and maybe a discussion on what are the main factors of attractiveness for business districts according to this survey. And then the next event we're planning is the Learning Expedition of this year that is going to take place hopefully in Paris in October. We're going to welcome you, and I'm be very glad to welcome you for your first trip outside of your country. You're going to be welcome to Paris. And we're working very much on the preparation of this learning expedition, with which will be focused on sustainable innovation issues. So that's if we manage to have you all here, it will be a very good signal also that things are moving back into a more normal situation if everybody can travel, of course. So I really much hope you're going to be able to make it. So thank you very much for participating. Have a good night in Tokyo, and have a good
Good night.
Right.
in San Francisco, and the rest of us, and we'll start in midday or end of the day. And hopefully we'll keep in touch and see each other very, very soon.
That's great. If I could just add one thing
Thank
before we
you.
go. So just so everybody knows, you're all members of the club. We are sending out an invitation to 80 other global business districts to become members of the club. And Josephine and Marie-Celia's letter, and Josephine will be sending that out this week or next. So if you could talk it up out there, that would be great. We'll let you know the list of global districts that we sent to. Maybe you know some people there, and if you could encourage them to become members, that would be helpful. So,
yep.
So thank you very much. If anybody wants to follow up with me, I was trying to take notes. I'd be happy to share. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Thank
day.
you.
It was
Have a
nice
great
to see
day.
you. Bye.
Right.
See you
Bye.
soon.